I think it's safe to say that we've had an incredibly successful preseason. I watched this team play some beautiful football. I saw this team playing attacking football. I saw confidence in the players. I saw excitement. I saw flair. And I saw tons of scoring chances. For me, my friends, this was most definitely worth losing sleep for. And in today's video, I want to discuss the top 5 performers of this summer's preseason. So my friends, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys were pleased and excited with this summer's preseason, hit that like button, my friends. And without wasting any more time, to start with things, the best player of this year's preseason, it has to be none other than Nico Jackson. Wow, what a preseason Nicolas Jackson's just had. He signed for us as a bit of an unknown quality, but I think right now he's left a lasting impression across the fan base, and for very good reason. This was the perfect preseason for Nico to demonstrate the full qualities of his game. Rarely have we seen strikers as a fan base that can combine so many different attacking qualities into one single package, and to break those qualities down. When Nico had to be an outlet out wide, boy was this guy a serious outlet. Not only does he have the physicality and upper body strength to hold off challenges against defenders, he can stretch those back lines. He adds that counter-attacking threat out wide, and when he gets into these wide areas, this guy is not afraid to show off the footwork, to show off the skill, to take his man on. And that's just one part of his game. Another part that I really loved in preseason was his movement. That ability to anticipate and time his runs in behind extremely well. He didn't get offside that often. And most importantly, that link-up play and combination play whenever he dropped deeper to find his teammates. Because wow, whenever this guy dropped deeper, he just encourages runs in behind. Because not only does he encourage a movement, but he has the ball playing ability to find his teammates in behind, but to set his teammates up with his passes. When he dropped deeper, he was regularly encouraging 1-2 type of combination passes. And one thing that I really appreciated about Nico was his body balance and positioning, because sometimes if you're holding off defenders, a lot of times your first touch can be a bit iffy. But for Nico, the guy has really good center of gravity, and he rarely kind of misplaces passes, which is something that you don't tend to see. This great part to his game did culminate in that beautiful goal that Modric scored against Brighton. But to finish off the 2 other things I loved about his game, his pace, because this guy is not a one-dimensional type of striker. He knows how to use his pace. He has pace over long distances where he can lead that counter-attack, but most importantly, he finds those positions between the defenders, and then he has that acceleration over short distances to run in behind and score goals. And we saw that most definitely against Newcastle. And last but not least, wow, is this guy beautiful to watch. The skill, the footwork, the technique, it all combines really effectively with his body balance, his shape, his footwork. I mean, those little step overs he did against Newcastle really stood out. And as preseason went on, he was demonstrating more skills and more willingness to take on his man. And we saw him fashion a lot of shooting opportunities for himself by taking on opponents. So for me, Nico was our best player this preseason, and he demonstrated most importantly that he is a Pochettino striker, because he got equal parts goals and equal parts assists. The fact that his performances have made us reconsider spending big money on a new striker kind of sums it up for itself. For me, Nico Jackson was our best player this preseason. Next on my list, the one player that did live up to the hype was none other than new signing in Christopher Nkunku. I think one thing we all kind of hoped for was to see Nkunku get goals this preseason, and boy did this guy not fail to deliver. To get 3 goals in separate games and a few assists, it speaks volumes about this guy's qualities. And we have to remember, we essentially sacrificed Kai Havertz, Mason Mount and Joao Felix to make Nkunku the focal part of our attack. Because in Pochettino's team, Nkunku is playing evenly as a 10 and an 8, but throughout this preseason, Pochettino tested out the versatility that the team can benefit from using Nkunku, and we saw him play up front, we saw him play as a 10, and we saw him play wide on the left. And I think in every single position, Nkunku proves to me that this guy is absolutely clear. He equally affects the game on the ball and off the ball. He showed great composure in those 1v1 moments. I felt like that goal he scored against Brighton, beautifully improvised a little flick with the outside of his boot, sums up this guy's clarity of thinking when he is 1v1 in goal. The one thing I really loved about Nkunku was how dangerous and effective he was in those transitional moments. And if you look at the runs he picks up, he always kind of withdraws away from his marker, because Nkunku knows that he has the explosiveness in short distances to get in front of his man, and nearly every goal he scored came in moments like this. So for me, it's nice to see that a player that really shined playing this way for RB Leipzig now has similar conditions created for him, signing for his new club. Nkunku is set to play that Dele Alli role, but on acid essentially, because not only is this guy incredible in front of goal, but in terms of the combination plays, the link up, that ability to find his teammates in behind. I felt that he was very dangerous leading our counter-attacks, because this guy can play balls with either foot, and he's regularly finding options out wide and in front of him too. But as I mentioned before, it's nice to see a player that has great understanding of how to time his runs, because as fans, I know it's quite frustrating to see our players finding themselves in offside positions for absolutely no reason and killing the attack. Now, one thing I wanted to see a bit more of was the combination play between Jackson and Nkunku. It was there, it was growing, but unfortunately things were cut short prematurely against Dortmund, where Nkunku had to come off for a precaution for his knee. So let's hope that Nkunku now is going to be ready for our game against Liverpool, because this guy is going to be clear. And one thing's for certain, whatever hopes, whatever ambitions we have for next season, I think a lot of those hopes are going to fall on Christopher Nkunku. But I think in this guy, yeah, he showed me in pre-season that he really is the real deal. So Nkunku, beautiful stuff. And now to move on to the surprise package of this pre-season. And it has to be none other than Ian Matson, because we all kind of expected this guy to find himself getting game time as a left back, but he didn't play a single game in his position. He played the entirety of pre-season playing further forward on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, and he got 2 goals, 1 assist. Most importantly, he could have got a lot more, and he showed this willingness to take shots on goal, this confidence in front of goal that we haven't typically seen as much of. He was always a presence making to look a third-man run to take a shot from deep. He was always an outlet out wide on the left-hand side or right-hand side to be an option for a pass. And most importantly too, he showed great quality from his set pieces, and of course his balls in behind, where he plays a beautiful through ball in behind with a perfect weight, perfect backspin, which found Nico Jackson. And for me, when I see passages of play like this where it looks very easy and you're like, why can't every player do this? That makes me pay attention even more, because Ian Matson receives the ball beautifully with his right foot. He's in an open body position, which allows him to play a first time pass in behind to find Nico Jackson with a perfect weight. And we have to be real as fans. How many times have we seen players flop through balls over these past years? But one thing that absolutely shined with Ian Matson was the intelligence that he showed, because he demonstrated that he is very complete for his age in terms of having that defensive output and the attacking output to match. Pochettino placed a lot of tactical responsibility on Ian Matson, and the fact that Ian knows exactly where to be on and off the ball, that's going to give something for Pochettino to think about. And it's no surprise that we're hearing that Ian Matson now is set to remain for next season, and that's for good reason. I mean, the positions he found himself in between the lines in the half space. He knew when to become a passing option for his teammates. He knew when to make the overlapping run in behind. And most importantly, he knew how to take out opposition players due to his intelligent movement in behind. For me, I think this guy was incredibly impressive, and to have someone this effective across nearly every position on the field, minus being a striker, goalkeeper and centre back, for me, I think that's the type of player that you can't easily discard. So Ian Matson, incredible pre-season. And next on my list is the player that had to live up to the hype, and for me, I would say that was Modric, because as we know, there have been lofty expectations placed on Modric since we beat Arsenal to signing him last January. Now, last season was a bit of a write-off, and I'm not really holding Modric to those regards. Things were difficult, but for me, it was how he reacted to last season which really impressed me, and most importantly impressed Pochettino. Of course, he joined the Ukraine under-21 squad for the European Championships, and he didn't have to do that. But he did that because he wants to come into pre-season ready to show Pochettino what exactly he's about. He had an impressive under-21 championships. It's a shame that he had some injuries throughout, but he did enough to get the trust of Pochettino. And my friends, I think that when he played, every time Modric was on the ball, I felt that threat. I felt danger. I felt like something was set to happen. And for me, this guy scored the best goal of preseason with that beautiful combination play with Nico Jackson. And that was essentially a move kick-started and created by Modric. Those two 1v2s that him and Nico played together. And at the end, Modric takes his shot early, gets his foot over the ball, hits it hard and low, and no goalkeeper in the world is saving a shot like this. I want to see more of that Modric. Now we have to understand this. Modric is not in the team to be getting 50 plus touches a game. It's all about how his team creates those 1v1 moments for Modric, and in these areas where he had space and was isolated against his man, literally 8 or 9 times out of 10, this guy was getting past them. He showed incredible explosive pace. He was regularly running down to the byline and playing accurate crosses with his left foot. And I have to say he played accurate crosses too with his right foot. Like, he is a 2-footed player that puts that dip in with his crosses. And that's going to be very exciting for guys like Nico and Kunku plus the midfield. One thing I liked about him too is that his threat was not one-dimensional. Sometimes he's taking the ball wide, sometimes he's cutting inside, sometimes he's playing a teammate in instead, or sometimes he's the one that's making the run inside the box to get on the end of the attack. But the most important thing was that Modric felt that confidence back to take his man on. He was cutting inside. He was cutting inside to take shots for himself. He was even attempting a few shots outside the box that he wasn't typically doing last season. A lot of times when he was on the ball, he'd be driving inside the box to play a cutback cross, to play those late runners in the box. As pre-season went on, his confidence was clearly growing, and he was starting to show a bit of the flair and skill that we've seen him do at Shakhtar. So for me, there were massive hopes pinned on Modric this pre-season, and the important thing is, he lived up to those expectations. And now to end things, for the young player of this pre-season, this was very hard because a lot of young players announced themselves in this pre-season, but for me, I'd have to say the winner is Andre Santos. Now again, another player where there's big expectations pinned on him, and boy did Andre Santos live up to these expectations. Like, at 19 years old, he plays far above his age, very mature. And one thing I noticed about this guy's impact during pre-season, there were kind of like two games. Games with Santos in the team and games without. And in games when Santos was not playing, we were a bit more susceptible to getting beaten in midfield and conceding goals. But when Santos was playing, wow, this guy was marshalling our midfield. Not only is he very comfortable playing like back to goal, helping build up, being that long pivot as well too, but he has the physicality. This guy goes in hard for his tackles. He's taking no prisoners. He puts his body on the line and he reads that danger. Like, he screened our defense very well in every game he played. And one thing I love too, especially in his build-up game, is how this guy punches his passes between the lines, because we're all about creating quick combination attacking plays. We're very vertical right now under Pochettino, so we need the deepest players in our team to have that confidence to punch those passes, to take out two opposition players, to speed our attacks up. And Santos was doing this to a T. He's playing his passes properly. Like, he's playing his passes to the stronger foot of his teammates, and that allows his teammates to control with one touch, second touch, move away. He played the Casado role incredibly effectively. I know I might sound a bit hyperbolic about his impacts, but I really believe it. Like, that goal we conceded against Newcastle where Anthony Gordon had all that time and space in midfield. I wasn't seeing Santos allowing anyone in that zone to have any time and space. And obviously against Brighton when we won 4-3, when he came off in the 65th minute, where was that type of protection in front of our defence? It wasn't there, and we looked a bit more susceptible against 10 men. He grew and grew and grew, and I think it's quite clear that this guy's going to have a lot of minutes next season under Pochettino. And I think, my friends, we might have pulled off a Mazza by getting this guy secured. So they are my top 5 players of this year's preseason. But to end things very briefly, obviously the notable players where these guys also impress, and to be honest with you, I easily could have done a top 10 video. That's how successful our preseason was. But special recommendations include players like Angelo Gabriel. He impressed so much that he might be staying here this season under Pochettino, and to have Pochettino's watchful eye over a skillful, inventive, confident player, that is the best player in my opinion. I'm looking at Humphreys, who was so composed with his 2 feet, playing out from the back, He slotted seamlessly into the team. I'm looking at players like Conor Gallagher, who kind of like reinvented his role a little bit. You know, he was playing certain games as a deeper midfield player. He showed his ability to get goals and affect the game in the final third. He was playing passes quickly. He had that energy. He really impressed. And obviously, Malo Gusto. I mean, the progressive passes in behind. He was playing those balls over the top better than Ben Chilwell throughout this preseason. Of course, 1v1, his game against Matoma easily wrapped him up. And how silky is this guy on the ball? And obviously, my other guy is Chukwuemeka. He made things happen playing as a 10. Both of his shots created goals for Nkunku and for Raheem Sterling. And every time he was on the ball, he looked to take the game onto his opponents. So this was an incredible preseason, definitely one to remember. And with talks about us challenging for the league for next season, that kind of took us all by surprise. After seeing how he performed under Pochettino this preseason, I think anything can happen, my friends. So on that note, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. I hope you guys enjoyed. Share your thoughts and opinions. And if you guys are excited for next season, if you guys love this preseason, hit that like button. So my friends, I'm the EFC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.